Hi class, Jolene here. Let's take a look at previous student work for the packaging design that you're going to be working on for lesson 8. So you can see here this student is starting to put together some pieces, got a brainstorm going on here, has downloaded some images of what a chart for nutrition facts might look like, starting to work with some ideas and patterns. And now this is the final. So a couple of problems with this. This person didn't use the template I provided, which is what you should do. There's no pattern in here. Using a pattern is part of this assignment. So that one's not working all that well. The one good thing about it is that, for instance, this snowflake design is going from one panel to another. So it's going from this panel to this panel and even to this panel, which would be the flap on the outside. So that part of it's good. Let's look at another one here. This is a package for string lights. So you can see that this student used the flap here to for the description. There's lots of other places where you could put the description. The flap is pretty small and it's at the end of the package. So I don't know if you'd want to put it there or not. If you use a barcode like this, that's a perfectly fine idea, but make sure that you create it yourself as a vector graphic versus using a bitmapped image off of the internet. So here's brainstorming, working with patterns, and more brainstorming. Here's another one. This student has used a pattern. That's good, but that one's not quite finished. So, well, let me see if there's more there. Yeah, this is the roughs, and then that's the final. This could use some more work. So this one's for some kind of a lavender relaxing spray for your pet. So this is working really well. We've got a pattern in the background. We've got an object that's going from one panel to the next. So if this box was all folded and it was three-dimensional, you would see the top part of this dog's face and then or head, and then when you turn the box a little bit, you would see the rest of it. In this case, the student has used a transparent rectangle to put the directions or information on right on top of the pattern so that it can be easily read. So these are the 4 panels. And you do want to make sure that you have something, some kind of object, some kind of art on these panels. Now these little pieces right here, those are going to be, when it's folded, they'll be tucked inside and you won't be able to see it. But you do want to, it doesn't hurt to add the same color or the same pattern as this panel. And in fact, it's a good idea, so that when it does get tucked inside, um, this piece right here where it's folded will be uniform. Okay, so this is from that previous student that I just showed you. This is what she was working with. Type trials, really important. Trying different patterns, etc. What else do we have here? A Christmas tree in a box. So this is fun. We've got a pattern in the background, but this type is really hard to read. So you'll need to do something to mitigate that problem, such as putting a transparent rectangle behind it or something like that. Here's one for honeybees. It looks like this one's not finished, or maybe there's a finished one farther down, but we can take a look at it. So we've got a little logo here, um, extra copy with directions, and a really nice pattern going throughout it. This is a DIY Santa hat ornament. So this is working pretty well. Now, what doesn't work here is the flaps being red. So these flaps should be green so that when this is folded, you won't see a possible line right here. So make sure that your flaps are the same color or pattern on each of these panels. Snowman poop. Okay, so this student used a white stroke on this type to try to make it stand out a little bit more, but strokes typically, it doesn't help that much. So you need to figure out another way of making the type stand out. And these flaps that are going to get tucked inside, that pattern needs to be extended on those. Okay, that's some roughs for a different student. This one's done really well. We've got patterns, we've got instructions, we've got really strong type, but do make sure that you use a clipping mask to clip everything inside. This one's for Disneyland in a box. Got a nice pattern going on in the background. This one's for sun rays. So these are little vitamin pills. The student's done a really good job with putting the ingredients and directions on this, and they used a solid rectangle, a white rectangle on top, which makes it really very readable. Okay, so this is roughs. Okay, that's the roughs for that sun rays. This one's done really well. An old style mystery tonic, Doc Sherman's mystery tonic. So you see this pattern goes all the way through on all the flaps, all the edges. So this works really well. And this is that same student's work with patterns and type. And that's the shape of Dr. Sherman that he used. That one looks like it is not finished, so we're going to move on. This is the roughs for, excuse me, this one, De Lorenzo Designs. So this could work, like if you wanted to use this as a promotional piece to show potential clients what kind of things you do, and maybe you put some candy or something inside this box to give to a client. But this doesn't have any directions. It doesn't tell us the weight of what's in there. So this one is not really complete. This is for Heaven Rose Chocolate. Yeah, this logo's not really working, but we do have ingredients. I wouldn't put Happy Mother's Day. Well, I suppose if you were doing this for one person and that one person was your mom, and you were giving it to her for Mother's Day, then that might work. And Mother's Day's coming up, so this might be a fun idea to because you can actually cut this out and put this box together, and that might make a nice gift. So here's one for Ghost Off. So we've got the pattern in the background. We've got a nice strong tagline here. Another tagline. So these are really good selling points. So as the Potential buyer is turning this box around. They're seeing lots of interesting things for why they should buy it. Live honeybees. Okay, that's one that we looked at before, the roughs on it, and that's the final. And this one, this type goes with this one. This is the process for this one. So this student created a whole logo for this, and there's the final. Happy puppy treats. Nice pattern. Pitbull energy. So this one, this is the comp on this one. Notice the difference when this student refines these. So I'm going to select both of them so you can see them side by side. So let's take a look at some of the differences. The pattern in the background, you can see that this student made it more transparent. And I think that works better to make everything else pop more. And then this type right here, with these key selling points, the student closed up the leading. Remember, leading is the space between lines. So closed it up, and I think that works really well. It creates negative space around it and makes it easier to read. So that's working really well. And this is the process for this student, the one we just saw, creating the type. They tried lots of different things before arriving at that final. Here's one for spark plugs. And wow, this is a little bit of a hot mess. Hard to read, not appropriate fonts. So that one's pretty challenging. There's a fun one for rock candy, and because of the size of this box, which is about a 1-inch square, when it's all folded. This width right here is about 1 inches, and this is probably about 5 inches. So rock candy would fit in there very nicely. And these are the roughs and comps for this one. Students brainstorm. Type trials. And so this is the Smile High Club presents Chill Pills. So that's a fun one. This one is for toner cartridges, Color Bomb printer ink, all these CMYK colors that would be in the printer you might have at home even. And those are the roughs for that last one we looked at. This one's kind of not so good because we can't read that type at all. We've got yellow here on the tabs rather than the pattern or the color extending into the tabs. So that's got a couple of problems with it. This is the roughs for that same one. Some fun imagery here that could be used, that the student could have used. So happy holidays, but that's nice. But what's in this box? It's a mystery box. We need to know. This one for See's Candy, using some of the colors and patterns that you might see on See's Candies. And they're even telling us that this would be a cutout window where you would actually see the candy inside. You don't have to do that. That's just the way this student did it. Here's one for Honeybee and Company. So this is the logo for the company, and then this is telling us that these are honey sticks inside with a honeycomb pattern in the background. This is very simple, elegant, has everything it needs to work well. All the patterns extended all the way through to the ends of the box and the tabs. This is as simple as it needs to be. We've got the net weight here. Everything you need is here, and it doesn't have to be any more complicated than this. Origami creatures, not working because the pattern or the color is not extended onto the tabs. This one's for Cafe. Again, for some reason, this student used, it looks like a different template, not sure why, but this is a really good pattern that runs throughout all of the tabs, everything so that works good. These are all the type trials for this one. Trying it in a couple of different ways and more patterns. This one is for a little excuse me, travel sewing kit. So the student used buttons for the pattern. Very clever idea, and a really nice color palette here. And here is this student's type trials process. This is for a miracle drink. Again, this one's done really well, has all the elements that we need. Let's see, and this is his roughs. Okay, so no pattern. I would consider this not finished. There's no pattern. There's nothing on the ends, which is the top of and the bottom of the packaging. So not working. This one's for daydreams. So you don't have to do something literal. You can do something that's kind of metaphorical, like daydreams in a box. So this is working pretty well. This is his roughs for that same one, for the daydreams. This one is done really well. You can see here that she's working with color palettes, patterns, and more elements that can go on the box, type trials, and I think the final is, yeah, that's where the final is. That one is working really, really well. Okay, we've got some elf help. This is working pretty well, but everything's covered except that one. This one is for coffee. And this one's fun. And looks like it has all the elements that it needs. That's the work on the one I just showed you. Here's one for the blood of your enemies. This works really well. We've got patterns, the color extending all the way out through the tabs. This one's for butterscotch sticks, and you can see here she put the tagline right in there. She tells us that there are 6 pieces in here. We've got a graphic of what's inside. We've got a description of what's inside. a pattern that extends all the way out. This is working really well. Love Potion. So the problem with this one is that these tabs that are going to get tucked inside need to be the same color or pattern as this. Like that. This is working really well. For T, this one also works well. Not so much. Okay, here we have, Star Wars, build your own lightsaber. And this also works really well. This one is for hand cream. And now this one, this pattern doesn't go all the way out to the tabs, but that's okay because the background color does. So when this little tab gets folded inside, it's going to look really nice. So this whole thing with the patterns, it's a mixture of patterns with the floral in the background, and then this other pattern. This is working really well. And this is the Ruff's type trials for that same one, how she came up with that. And that's a different comp. More experimentation for how the pattern might be applied. And that's the final. So there's some previous student work that I hope is helpful for you.